In this screencast, I'm going to show you how to make a simple space planet scene in Photoshop. I have one made here already. Make one that looks kind of similar to it. We'll start out, make a new layer, and just fill it with black. First, we're going to make the stars. Filter, noise, add noise. A little less noise. Looks alright. Click OK. And then we'll go hit Control L, Command or Control L for levels. Brighten up some of these stars and lower the brightness on some of the other ones until we get a good look for our star field. And then just to make it a little nicer, duplicate that layer, set it to overlay. And then we're going to flip the horizontal, hit levels again, brighten up some of these stars, darken up some other ones, until we've got a pretty decent star field. And let's just move that a little bit so we're not quite so predictable in how the stars are laid out. So that looks pretty good for the stars. Now let's make a planet. So I've got already this texture, which you can get. I googled planet textures. It's the first link at the top. It's planetpixelemporium.com, and then you just pick a planet. I picked Venus. Scroll down here, and you can have the color map or the bump map. I picked the color map. Bring that into Photoshop and take your marquee tool. Hold Shift to constrain your axis, and just drag out a circle. Command and Control C to copy that circle, and then we'll paste it. Put it in here. It looks alright. It's got a nice texture to it, but we want it to look like a globe, like a planet. So we'll go to Filter. We'll select this first. Go to Filter, Distort, Spherize. We're going to do this twice. The first time you do it at 100%. Then the second time, just to add a little bit more to it, Distort, Spherize, do it at 50%. So there we've got our nice planet. We want to give our planet a little bit of atmosphere. So double click next to the layer to go into layer styles. Add an outer glow. We want to pick a nice deep blue color. And then change the size of this so that it looks like it's glowing. And then we want to grab this color and do the same thing with the inner glow. Change the size, crank it up just a little bit so it looks like our planet has an atmosphere. Even though Venus doesn't actually have, at least a breathable atmosphere, it looks like this planet has an atmosphere. Now, this isn't the way most normal planets look. Normally, you only see a fraction of the planet, and that's the part of the planet that you see by the sun. So, to get our light source, we want to make a new layer after we have command-click the planet on the previous layer. And then we want to make our selection just a little bit bigger, so we're going to modify, expand it by about, let's do 7 pixels. It looks alright. And then on the new layer, fill that selection with black. Then drag that selection just slightly off center. So we've got a nice little crescent shape with our planet. And then with that shadow layer selected, you want to go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. Give it a nice little blur so we've got a nice shadow. So the sun will be hitting from in this area. So we want to add a sun. So create a new layer. Fill that entire layer with black. And go up to Filter, Render, and Lens Flare. We want to get our lens, we want to have a good angle on our lens flare so that we're kind of looking dead on and the sun is kind of glaring in the lens as we're looking at this planet. So that looks pretty good. And then we want to set this layer to screen. Once that's done, then we position the lens flare just about here, just in the center of both sides of the shadow. So it looks like the sun is cresting this side of the planet and casting a shadow over the other side of the planet. So let's take all that stuff and just drag it out a little bit over here, because we want a little nebula cloud too. We want to add a little more flavor to this. So to make another new layer, and then take your gradient tool, make sure you're on a black to white, and then just drag a gradient across this. We don't want a radial gradient, we want a linear gradient. Set that to linear, and then drag linear. Then we go up to filter, render, difference clouds, to give ourselves a little cloud view here, and change that layer to screen. Well, let's see. Yeah, we want that as screen. But it's a little too powerful, so let's drag this opacity down a little bit. Give it quite not such a bold look. And the white kind of also looks a little drab, so we want to add a little color to that. So you hit your black and white cookie, and let's go hue saturation, and colorize. And then we can change the color of our clouds. I like green. Let's go with green. A little more saturation, like kind of like the Borg. Like this is a Borg planet. There's lots of green nebulas. Green is usually associated with the Borg. So, but it's still a little too powerful. Let's drag the opacity down just a little bit. And we don't want necessarily the planet to be covered in green. So we want to make sure we're just getting the nebula. So holding down Option and mouse between the two layers to clip that hue saturation to the difference clouds. So we're just coloring the clouds green. We got a little white over here, but that's okay. It still looks pretty good. So that's the basic planet tutorial. And if you want to trim it up just a little bit, you can add a mask and then take a nice soft brush paint over the mask with black just a little bit. Oh, we don't want that, but lower your opacity so it's not quite as drastic. Just paint over a little bit of areas so we're not quite so, I'm going to see a little bit more of this planet, so we're not quite so obvious with the clouds. And that looks pretty good. And there you are with, that's how to make a simple planet on a space background.